and welcome to Post Quarantine Art Chats. Today we are chatting to a very special guest, Simon Toohey, a creative plant-based chef from Melbourne, Victoria. Simon was a grand finalist in the TV series MasterChef and came back in 2020 as a favourite to win MasterChef All Stars. I'm very excited to have Simon on board because obviously I love art, but I also really love food. And I believe that there is no purer form of artistic expression than through cooking. Having lived in Melbourne and been a vegetarian for a number of years while living there, I know that as a foodie, it's really hard to find great food free of meat and dairy that also comes from an organic and sustainable place. Simon is the co-founder and host of a series called Sustainable Earth Network, a show that helps people learn how to cook amazing dishes, but also interact with the world in a more sustainable way. So thank you so much for joining us, Simon.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited.
It's awesome to have you on board. So most importantly, through this whole COVID thing, how have you and your family been? Are you guys all safe and well? You've managed to avoid?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, mum and dad up in North, so they're up in Byron Bay, so they're pretty safe and happy as far as I can tell. My partner and I are stuck in Footscray in our little apartment, which is beautiful. I think Georgia is probably going more nuts than I am. She's definitely more of a person to get out and see everything and get the sun on the skin, and absolutely brilliant yogi as well. So needs to get out and get to a studio. So that's really tough on her. I'm more of the kind of stay at home and then have one big sort of like blowout and then come and stay at home again. So we're doing all right. We're doing pretty good. I'm okay. And there's a lot of work to be done anyway. So it's just staying at home doing that.
Yep. Oh, we're very lucky here in Western Australia because we haven't had the kind of lockdown that you guys have had. We can still go to the beach and we've still been able to do a lot. And because I'm not an indoor person, I need to be outside every day. I'm so grateful that I wasn't stuck somewhere where I actually had to physically stay inside. I think I just would have lost my mind.
Yeah. George is the same as you, I think, in that sense. So it's a tough one. And then we're going back down, as we found out yesterday, we're going back down to more restrictions again because of that whole thing. So now we were allowed 20 people in a room. Now we're only allowed 5 again. Okay. So it's annoying. It's really annoying.
Better, but then it seems like it's starting to pick up a little bit.
Well, there's always going to be a resurgence when you start letting people socialize. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's certainly been an interesting year.
I agree.
So for those who don't know too much about your work, about the values behind your work or your background in food, can you just give us a little rundown on what you do?
Yeah, I think, I guess my world is this need, and I get an urge to create like really beautiful dishes using plants and using plant-based ingredients. No other reason than just for that, because I feel as though we have grown up in our society, especially as sort of the classic white middle-aged or the white middle-class kind of person, is that the foods that we know, or just a white Australian, is the foods that we know is when it comes to things of the meat and 3 veg variety, the meat is the number one part on the plate. And it's so big that it takes up most of the plate because, things are getting bigger. And the vegetables are just really badly cooked and they create a small percentage of that plate. And they're also not very nice. Like they've been boiled in water, they've been steamed until they've turned to mush. There's no flavor added to it. It's just like the common quote of, I think, the Australian child is, eat your greens, they're good for you. Well, I just don't really believe in that. And I don't believe they have to be good for you. I kind of took that as a massive sort of, I guess, chip on my shoulder and decided that I wanted to create something that was absolutely amazingly tasty using plants as opposed to the meat. And then hopefully running down that track and getting people who are over the top meat eaters through bad processes of farming and bad produce to start thinking about having conscious decisions about the things they're eating. And so I guess I kind of, again, my partner is, we eat a lot of plants, but her family is definitely a plant-based family, which was very new to me because my father was the executive director of the Cattle Council of Australia for many, many years. So he was, and then in the Farmer Federation and his animal welfare. So he's always been around the animal world. He's been a farmer since he was a child, So it's quite an unusual sort of direction. But I think it was more about the fact that also that the vegetables haven't been really touched upon when it comes to great flavor. There's some places that do really good sort of side dishes, and side dishes are always known in the world of vegetables. You go to a smokehouse, you go to like a meat smokehouse, you go to any restaurant that has some like lots of small plates, and you buy the main meal, and then you have a lot of sides, and a lot of them are the vegetables you add. The big salad, sort of like a rocket salad, and I just didn't like that anymore, and so I found it to be more of a challenge.
Yeah.
And then, that's what it was. So I think my background coming from that meat world and then really delving into the world of plants and actually loving the fact that the variety is huge, and we're really sort of blind by the variety of plants.
Yeah.
And what you can do with it is kind of challenging. And I love a good challenge, as you'd understand with your work in art. The challenge is the exciting part. Although you hit your head against the wall many a time, you also find success, and those successes are what keep me going. So I guess that's the natural progression of getting into plants.
Yeah. Oh, I really love that. I really love to hear that. I've got Dutch parents, so I grew up with boiled potatoes and crumbed meat and boiled to heck cauliflower or broccoli every single night. Like, we never had rice, we never had noodles or anything really different. It was very literally like once a year or once every 6 months tops we might have something different. So I grew up hating my veggies with a passion. The only thing I'd eat is the meat. I might touch a little bit of the edge of the veggies. I hated veggies as a child. Hated it. Suddenly
it's obvious why, right? Like, it's so obvious why, because you get given that, and it's it's not their fault, because that's what they learned, and it's what they learned, and it sort of became they needed to feed a family of however many quickly, and the best way is to deep fry some meat or put it on the barbecue in Australia and then steam some veggies at the same time, and by the time the meat's done, the veggies are done. And they're so done, you know what I mean? So you get relatively good quality meat, relatively good quality, and then really badly cooked vegetables. So it was always the veggies that got the bad end of the stick, and so we all just threw them in the bin.
I think that's what happened with me and why I turned vegetarian, because I'd eaten meat every day of my life.
Yeah.
And I literally just got to a point where I was making dinner one night, just chopping up the meat, and I was just like, I just can't. I just felt inside me, I just can't do this anymore. I can't eat like this anymore. I'm sick of it. I feel like it's just making me sick. I just can't do this anymore. So I couldn't eat my dinner that night, and literally from that day forward for a good 7 years I didn't touch red meat. I think I had a little bit of chicken in the first year, and then I went off that as well. It didn't interest me.
It's always chicken though, right?
Moved towards fish and other things. But in the end, really, what I enjoyed was a good plate of roast vegetables with some garlic and some herbs and just some and I started experimenting with flavors, and I went on different short-term diets, you might call them, but it was really just to learn about how to cook something other than meat. And it really opened up my mind to a lot of different things. But I've always been a foodie. I always love food. I never turn down food. I'm always, someone invites me out for food, I'll be there. So
of course, for us as plant-based people, it's really difficult to get that sort of flavor. But yesterday I had these amazing noodles, and there's this shallot paste that I got from just a regular supermarket. It's called shallot paste. It's hilarious, but if anyone sees it, buy it. It's crack. And then some chili paste, and I made a stock using skins of all the waste onions and garlic. So I had an onion and garlic skin stock, and put it all together, and then added the noodles to that and that's it. So you got this beautiful broth. And these noodles, and it's kind of like that. To me, is as exciting as any ramen I've ever had. So there's so many options. It's just you got to try and find how to
we just got to find our rebellious streak and fight against what we think we know.
I know.
Get out there and try something new.
Well, it's tough because and this is the hardest part, to try and get plant-based dishes is so hard, because you Google, what do you Google? Vegetarian dishes, and it comes up with Instagrammable things with grated carrot, grated cabbage, an avocado, and some black sesame seeds, because it's all and some rice, and that's literally all it shows you every single time. 101 ways to eat healthy as a vegan. It's like, I don't want to eat healthy. I don't want to be a healthy vegan or a healthy plant-based diet eater. I want to eat rich, delicious, over roasted, things with all these umami flavors. I want that. I don't want this goodness. And so you go to a bookshop, or like even with Books with Cooks in Melbourne, which is just a shop that tailors to cooks. And there's no good plant-based books out there. There's a few, there's a handful, and I've got them all here and they're all brilliant, but that's kind of it. There's no gap between the Instagram photos and the high-end restaurant. Where's the stuff that's going to test my skill level and make me think a little bit more outside the box? Because people who cook plant-based foods, you got to get sick of it. Like, it's the same every single time. You might as well give me the meat and 3 veg. So how do we create new things that are fun and exciting? So that's my goal now. That's the goal, is to make that thing happen.
Yeah, that's very, very exciting. So what was COVID like for you? So when COVID hit, obviously you were busy filming at the time and restrictions came into place. And how did your world sort of change when COVID hit earlier in the year?
We were lucky because, I mean, the restrictions came through the filming, which everyone's sort of seen, whoever's watched the show, but they continued filming, which is really lucky. So we kept busy the whole time. And it wasn't until sort of now, because obviously all the filming's finished now, that you get home, you kind of think, well, what next? You know, you kind of feel as though you should be going out doing interviews, or you should be going to studios, or you should be going, this, that, and the other, but you can't go anywhere. So I put a different twist on it and decided to just do all my prep work for when things get opened up. So do all my proposals, do all my funding proposals, do all my business plans, do all my structural sort of calendar for the 6 months, work on season 2 of the whole thing with Sustainable Earth Network, which is really cool. So all these things I got to do at home, which usually I try and avoid as much as possible because I cannot stand computer and admin work. It's just not my jam. So I was forced to do it, and which has been good, which has been good. So I've tried to turn it on its head and make it a worth my while sort of situation.
Yeah, that's good. I think we expected the sort of COVID lockdown thing to go on a lot longer than it did. It really was only 2 to 3 weeks of no one leaving their homes in WA. I have a feeling we're going to be going back to that maybe later in the year, but at least for now, life is not quiet. Life is busier for us than it ever has been. Everyone's sourcing locally, everyone's buying locally. Of course, our borders have been closed. So we've kind of gone from being exporters, importers to just really focusing on WA and
totally food sovereignty stuff,
Yeah, really, it's really gone back to our roots. And so everyone's very busy because we're all suddenly trying to source what we need for each other within our own state. So that's been a really
love it. And I mean, I guess WA is one of the best for it as well. You literally have one of the longest coastlines in the world. I think Canada has the longest. I think WA is the second longest, I think, from some sort of Trivial Pursuit question, I think, or pub trivia. You have some of the best grains in Australia grown more central, and you got some of the most beautiful, obviously like river-based fish and marron, of course, which is obviously very WA. And then obviously you got the tropical levels of pineapples, and you got the wine region. I mean, if there's anywhere to be during COVID, you're in the right place.
And we've got beaches. We've got amazing beaches.
Oh,
and if you need to get quarantined, they'll send you out to Rottnest Island, which is fantastic.
I know. How good is that?
I kind of was saying to my husband, I secretly hope that I get a really mild case, so they send me off to Rottnest.
Admit to it straight away.
Pretty much. So it's been a very interesting time here, and I think people in WA were used to the isolation, so there was no real. I mean, there was a sense of panic over toilet paper for sure, and I think for everyone when it hit, there was a bit of a sense of panic. But generally, people are they're pretty chilled over here. They're really not too. They take everything in their stride, and so being cut off from the rest of the country, I think they kind of made the most of it rather than falling to pieces, time. But I've sort of got to a point where it's like I've avoided admin for about 11 months now, and I actually have to go and get stuck into stuff. So I've been working on my marketing, and I've been working on all the stuff I hate doing, and I kind of know that like in a few weeks when it's all finished, I'm going to have this huge creative pump, and I'm going to be creating all this stuff because I'm going to just so much. Totally built up. pretty much. But I don't think creatives are built for admin.
No, definitely not. Right? Definitely not.
For any creative, the goal in life is to get to a point where you can pay your bills and outsource your admin.
Yes, I know. But the problem is with the creative types, you need to make money to be able to outsource your admin. That's the problem.
I know.
Do you get the money?
you got to kind of do the grind to get there, I guess.
Correct. I think so.
So my next question was, obviously with this whole COVID experience, it's kind of bringing the hospitality industry to its knees. So going forward, because obviously COVID's something that's still around. I think we hope it's going to be gone sooner rather than later, but I think the reality is that this is something that's going to be a cycle. I mean, you look at the Spanish flu, that was around for 4 years. So going forward, how do you think the hospitality industry could get creative during this time and find new ways of reaching customers in the future, foreseeable future?
Yeah, this is a huge one, isn't it? It's really tough because a lot of them are doing the best they possibly can with takeaway. Doing cooking classes online, offering fruit boxes and veg boxes so they can cook at home. People are really starting to think outside the box when it comes to this, which is great. But when it comes to sustaining it, that's tough because there's also a whole lot of staff that need to get paid. That's the difficulty. So you as an owner in a venue can stay open because you can work yourself. You can get the job keeper, and then you can create a little bit of income through all the sort of like, the delivery style system you're doing, but it comes down to people who were staffing, who only work for 6 months in one place, and doesn't really, how do they stay afloat, because there's not enough job to get by. So as a business, I think they're going to be doing okay. I think luckily a lot of them, and let's just say I'm not putting everyone into a complete group. There's obviously some that's struggling a lot at the moment, but large percentage that I know as well are doing okay as owners because JobKeeper and bottled cocktails, delivery food, whatever. When it comes to staffing, you've really just got to try and clutch at straws with whatever you got and swallow your pride a bit because no job is too bad, I think, in so many ways. And also, if you have that ability to be in some ways creative, then maybe there's something out there that you've been wanting to do for a long time, that now's the time to do it. There's a huge amount of free courses online based around fermentation, based around distillation, based on, brewing. You can do, finally get your qualifications to be a chef, or at least, part do it until you sort of gets reopened. There's so many options for you to maybe pursue something that you didn't realize or that you never really had the time to do, especially in hospitality. No one has time to do it. I mean, no one has the time, if they're dedicated to their job in hospitality, really to do other things. And it's so now they've got that opportunity. And I think if they can get a hold of a job seeker, job keeper situation, then they can pursue the things they really love. I reckon once we come out the other end and they've gone, oh, hold on, now there's something that I love, I can start really doing the things that I've been wanting to go down for quite some time. So it's a little, short-term pain, long-term gain. That's my sort of answer to that. Outside of that, it's a really tough one, isn't it? It's really sort of very subjective.
I find all the industries at the moment, there's a lot of people obviously who've been laid off or can't get work or whatever, but then there's sort of there's that initial depression and fear and stress, and then you're at home and realize that we're all kind of in the same boat. And there's so many people out there who are just so willing to share, which is so great because we're all in the same boat and everyone's got this time on their hands.
Yeah.
These creatives are sharing for free online. I mean, a course recently that I know that I never would have dreamed of being able to afford to do. At least it was the 5-year plan, but it was going to take me a while to save up to do this course. And I would have had to go either to the eastern states or overseas to do the course. So it would have ended up being between $5,000 and $7,000 just to do the course. And he posted it online for free. And
no way.
That from home, just was incredible. And I'm sure that for people who are, chefs or who just can't find work at the moment, pretty much in any creative industry, people are willing to share their knowledge. And with having this time at home, they can finally go, hang on, what do I actually want to do with my future? And what's important to me? And what matters to me? What am I passionate about? And I find people who are masters in their industry just going, you know what, I actually don't want to do this anymore, and just upping and leaving and doing something entirely different because I've got the time to invest and what they really love and learn.
Yeah.
It's like this amazing, so it's been like this terrible time, but this amazing sort of rebirth or growth for a lot of creators.
Totally. And community groups as well that people are suddenly to find out. And although you're not allowed to be, it depends if you're in WA, it's great, but community gardens allow you to be 1.5 meters away, but also be in an area of nature, which is something that we're all struggling to be a part of at the moment. So that's a beautiful thing as well. And also, not only that, you can look at online community groups that you've decided is something that you really want to be a part of. So 4 chefs friends or 4 bartender friends or whatever it's going to be have decided to get together and create a community on fill in the blank, and you can create this just a question of change. And I know for a fact from being in hospitality for nearly 15 years and then going into sort of ambassadorial work, no longer having to be in bed by 3-4 a.m. because you close the bar at 2 or 3 or whatever it is, and then finally going into daytime work, you go, sure, this is good. Yeah. I can read a book. I can read a book, and I can do the studies, and I can all that sort of stuff. So there's heaps of options.
It's an interesting time, and creatives are really having to get creative with what they do.
Yeah.
So just to sort of wrap up, so overall, what sort of insights have you gained during 2020, pretty much? What sort of advice would you have for someone wanting to enter the industry now, or for chefs at this time? What insights can you take away from this?
Yeah, there's so many. I adore the idea of just being creative. So, the people who want to be a part of it, just be part of it. Stop sort of talking about it. I think COVID has actually allowed us to really create that next step and give us that no excuse option of everything happening. So we can literally get out and create food and learn and study. I mean, there's a plethora of books that are out there for you to read and to understand technique and style. And basically what happens is those people thinking about it, especially in the food industry, will find a passion for food. Great. It's all you need if that's what you want. But if you want to go further, that passion then becomes sort of like a direction. And then that direction, you find a place that's actually like the kind of real kind of cook that you want to be at that time, because things change constantly. Everything's tangible. But you really find a direction you want to go in, and then you follow that. And then if you really want to get into the food world and you find you're really loving it, then you find a kitchen that really lives with your ethos. Yeah. There's some great ones out there that really sort of allow any cook the wanting to learn more. It gives them that option to go there and find a professional kitchen. Now, if a professional kitchen isn't what you want, then you can go down a million of other roads, whether that's the science of food, whether that's the history of food, whether that's, the chemicals of food and how it all works together. CSIRO, there's gastronomy universities that you can do gastronomy masters and degrees, etc., all that sort of stuff. So I think like an artist in so many ways, and those with any creative sort of brain, is just start it. Stop. Like, if you're still making excuses about something you're going to do in the future and you haven't done it during COVID, maybe it's not your thing. Can we do the hard truths on that one? If you haven't done it during COVID, I think maybe you should just say you really enjoy food. Like, you just like it, and maybe pursuing it as a career isn't your thing. And that's totally fine. Let yourself be okay with that, and just enjoy playing around. But if you want to pursue it, the avenues are really open for you.
What I was doing. So I went to this panel last year of artists, but basically all visual artists. And, one thing that was brought out, they said, it's with your art practice, it's okay to do whatever you want with your art practice. You can get creative with your business. It doesn't have to be run a certain way. It's not like an accounting firm,
No, correct.
If you stop for a while, it doesn't mean you're not an artist anymore. If you need to change direction and do something else and then come back to it later or not, that's fine. It's your life, and you create your life and your business how you want to. And that just really impacted me. It really gave me confidence to move forward in the right direction for me.
Jeez, that's awesome. I love that. What a great way.
So what's next for you this year?
Yeah, so we have the Sustainable Earth Network, which is going crazy at the moment. We're
loving that, by the way. I just watched the mushroom one, and I'm just like, I can't wait to watch it again. It was because I'm a bit of a mushroom nut. I love mushrooms, so
good, right? So that's great. So we've done our first season. We're getting onto our second season, which is really cool. So we're just writing. That's what I've been doing this whole time. So writing a proposal for funding for season 2. So anyone out there wants to fund us, please, give me a call. But so that's season 2, which is exciting. We've got really fun things happening there. Things like hemp and seaweed, local clay artists, local knife blacksmiths, which is really, really cool. So, and then permaculture, vertical gardens, heaps of stuff, which is all about sort of like obviously local produce, because that's just, the standard situation, but things that of people who have a like-minded, who have a similar mind where they want to help save the planet through the processes of what they love.
Yeah.
And whether that's art or whether that's making knives or whether that's sourcing produce or whatever that could be, their end result is, well, I'm recycling everything that I'm doing here because I want to create beauty from what I have as a resource and not take what I can't give back. So everything about our sort of ethos runs with that. And so season 2 is going to be huge. And we're finishing off with this really beautiful smokehouse party in the Adelaide Hills, where I'm cooking for a bunch of really important peeps. So that'll be just brilliant if we get it off the ground. The plan is there. Now it's just making it happen.
Sure you will. It's a very, very cool show. I'm quite addicted to it, actually, because I've got that real same, it's very, very close to my heart to do things that work with the earth and not against it. I mean, this is our home and this is the only one we've got. So I'm just like, I really love this channel that you've got going because I love food, of course. I love creativity, but then you've got this whole beautiful, working with the earth and not against it. And
it's time to ask the hard questions as well, It's time to ask the hard questions towards those who aren't doing necessarily the proper way or whatever the proper way is, but also try to support those that are really trying to love, which I think is important. Because as long as we can advertise love and care and that philosophy through food, then we'll find that people will no longer have that negative approach or crave negativity, but will hopefully crave the positivity.
Love, it all begins and ends with love, really. That's, I'm with you with that. What you're doing, we're really enjoying the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Love your work too.
Really, really positive and, really good work.
Cheers.
And congratulations, by the way, on your amazing MasterChef accomplishments. That was awesome.
Yeah.
What a
hectic.
ride. Yeah.
That was hectic. That was really, really hectic. But I'm glad I did it again, and I'm glad it's over now. Time to move on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'd totally regret it if you hadn't come back.
Yeah. Correct.
Sometimes you just got to do it, and then you can look back and go, "Wow, it was huge," but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I really think so.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, you
all right, mate.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for calling, and we'll talk soon.